Test. Testing audio. Testing. I think we're good with the audio. Right? Well, what's up? What's up? Okay, now I see chat finally. Just trying to get it up. We are back. Yeah, it's been about a month. We're back. Welcome. Appreciate y'all tuning in here. We'll get started soon in like 10 minutes. So, I need to make some announcements first here. What's up? Good evening. What's up, NQ Trend Sniper? To the live stream. First time I see. What we do on these streams is we just do a top-down analysis on this list right here. This is my forecast list. Just some major markets I watch, or majority of the people trading watch, right? These are just the main characters we're going to go over. I'm going to try to keep it brief today. I'm talking like 30 minutes. Like very brief. Because of tips, I was able to pass a prop for him. Echo. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, Echo. Well done. So happy to hear that, man. Let's go. Good evening. What's up? What's up? We're going to get started shortly. I'm going to post, yeah, we're going to do a Bitcoin top down as well, Tim. But I'm going to do some announcements on Instagram, etc., etc. So just sit tight. We'll begin momentarily in a few minutes. Uh, we are live. Yeah, we're just waiting a little bit here for a second. All right. All right, we are live now. I just sent the link in chat, adding everybody, and we're gonna start. We're gonna start. All right. Well, what's up, guys? Let me read chat here. Welcome. Happy Sunday. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Hope y'all had a great weekend. Hope you had a great trading week last week, and if not, hope you journaled and learned what you need to improve for this next one. The way I like to do things and like set my weekends up is on Saturdays is to review the week that was, and Sundays review the week ahead. So that's what we're doing today. But I like to take Saturdays to look at my journal, look at everything, look at all the notes I made to myself, look at all my trades, where could I improve, and note that all down going into next week. Always trying to improve from who you were last week. Not just in trading, but in life in general, in all aspects of life. So that's what I like to take Saturday to do. It's time to sleep, bro. Hurry up. Well, I appreciate you tuning in, however late it might be over there for you, but I will be going on my own pace here. Just watch the recording if it gets too late. But all right, I think we can get it going. So let's pull up the econ calendar first. Economic news calendar. As always, we know it's the first thing we got to pull up here. It's our roadmap for the week. So it's always the first thing we want to be looking at. So here's the econ calendar. You can find this on forexfactory.com. That's the one I like to use. I think like 99% of people out there use forexfactory.com. I don't even know of like another one. What's up, brother? Wondering what broker you use to buy stocks? I use Webull. I made those long-term ads I mentioned in the Discord on Webull. I get like 3.5, or was it 3.75? It used to be 4 even. I get that much interest a year, APY, just having cash sitting in there. So I like to just leave a lot of cash on Webull and then make my investments on that platform. But I went over this on Instagram already. I had a whole dedicated reel breaking this down. I had a Twitter post breaking this down. You have a therapist voice, bro? Like, just in case trading doesn't work out. That's hilarious. It's actually pretty funny. Honestly, usually my voice isn't like therapy-ish. I don't know. Therapy coded. I'm pretty tired. I might sound a little more low energy. I had a pretty late night. Late night. Usually, yeah. Anyways, so economic news calendar right here. It's important because we should understand by now that news is what injects volatility and energy into the marketplace. So we want to be knowing when that energy and volatility might be injected. Now, looking at this week, it is a Monday. Well, we have a Monday. Of course, we have a Monday, but there is no news. Same thing with Tuesday. So, hence why I said on those Twitter posts, hence why I said on the Instagram posts, to just exceed a little more caution. Does this mean avoid any and all trades that you might see? No, that's something a lot of people I think get wrong when they see those posts. It doesn't mean completely avoid Monday, completely avoid Tuesday, completely avoid trading days with no news. I say caution because it's a way to just tame those expectations and just don't expect to make all your profits on a newsless Monday on the first day of the week or on a newsless Tuesday. That's pretty much all it is. Just careful, calm down. Don't come into the week rushing to make all your money early on. Because the way I'm viewing this week is that we have a very top heavy, should I say bottom heavy week in terms of where all the news is found. As we know, the government has been unshut down. It is reopened, meaning that we are now going to get regularly scheduled news events. CPI, NFP, in the past few weeks and months, we've noticed that these news events have been listed as tentative. They've been delayed since the Bureau of Labor Statistics was closed as a result of the government being shut down. All those employees were essentially put on leave, on furlough. But now that the government's open, they are back in the office, and now they are getting all the numbers, and now they could release these news events, which is why we're seeing NFP for the first time. In my experience, I've seen NFP on a Thursday. NFPs, they're supposed to be the first Friday of the first week of every new month. So seeing a NFP event in the middle of November is pretty interesting, but we'll rock with it. So this right here, non-farm employment change, that is NFP. NFP is non-farm payroll. They're the same thing, by the way, in case you're confused. Why is this guy saying NFP? That is what this is. Okay, and NFP is a big 3 news event that we want to watch out for. That's another reason looking at the econ calendar is very important. We want to be knowing where these big 3 news events are, right? They're very large volatility injectors that we want to be very careful trading around, because oftentimes the price action leading up to these big 3 news events is very rangy. It likes to be held in a tight consolidation as it awaits the major injector right here. And then this is typically when we like to explode towards our draw on liquidity. It is often on these big 3 news events that happens. Or we see quick manipulations on that big 3 news event followed by the expansion towards the draw, based on our bias and higher time for an analysis, etc., etc. Another thing to note about this this calendar right here, FOMC meeting minutes. This is something that people oftentimes get. There's a misconception on this. There's a big misconception on this. FOMC meeting minutes is not the same as FOMC statement. They are different things. FOMC statement is the big 3 news event, right? We're talking about NFP, CPI, and FOMC. Those are the big 3 news events that you need to watch out for. Those are the ones that see a lot of volatility on their release, and you risk getting slipped if you are open in an open position as that releases, as that data releases. Whereas FOMC meeting minutes is something different, right? This isn't statement. So it's not a big news event. We're gonna see a big explosion of volatility into the market, right? So I don't treat that as that. Just to clear that up. I know that is a very common misconception. So that is the econ calendar. This is what we're working with. And then on Friday, now we have 9:45 a.m. red folder news right here, looking excellent. All right. Let me see real quick. Let me look at the chat real quick before we move on to charts. I hate these ads. Yeah, sorry about that. Get YouTube Premium, brother. I don't know how I can live without it. I can't live without it. Can't just sit there, be forced to watch propaganda, to watch ads. There's no way. I value my time. I would highly suggest getting premium. It's so worth it. It's honestly so worth it. Anyways, what else? CAD CPI on Monday. I mean, maybe there is. I don't have the CAD on anymore because I am not really looking at cross pairs that much nowadays or swinging. Really, I'm focused on USD only. That's why you've seen me literally only have USD news on my calendar now, where in the past I would have the entire, all of the currencies. I would have like JPY news, GBP news, Euro. For those of you who've been watching the streams for a while, you may have noticed that I don't really look at all those news events anymore. Like, for example, you are correct. Yes, this is the news calendar with all the currencies news events on. I only have the USD ones because that's all they focus one on. I only look at ES, NASDAQ, gold, and that's it pretty much for day trading nowadays. I'm really futures focused. Whereas back in the day, I used to look at a lot of forex, a lot of swing trading, a lot of cross pairs, and yeah, I would obviously need to know where these news events are. But I'm more USD focused, I'm more futures focused, indices trading, in gold, essentially. But anyways, the government is reopened. Just know that's very important news that we had lately. Anyways. That is the econ calendar and things we need to watch out for this week. Now, moving on to the actual analysis, we're just going to go through these assets quickly here. And that's pretty much it. It's very simple. First thing we want to be looking at when doing a top-down analysis is the dollar. All right. The dollar is very important to look at because it is the world reserve currency. Meaning, if we can find a bias on one instrument right here, which is the dollar, DXY, we will have a bias for 7 instruments right here, the majors, right? These are the forex majors I'm highlighting on my watch list over here. They're directly tied to the dollar, directly correlated to it. All right. So if we find a bias on dollar, we have a bias for all of these because these follow what dollar does. So that's why we're first going to take a look at the dollar. And then based on what we find on dollar, we can determine which one of these are most likely to present a solid trading opportunity this week based on relative strength analysis. That's very important. We always want to be trading the strongest pair if we're bullish, or we always want to be trading the weakest pair if we are bearish. Very important to not forget about relative strength analysis whenever you're trying to determine a trade idea. It's very important. So on dollar, when we're doing a top-down analysis on any asset, we're going to be starting from the highest time frame, which is for me the monthly, and we're going to be looking for 2 things, which is order flow and candlestick logic. Now, order flow just refers to the fair value gaps. And again, if you're new here, if this is your first forecast, I'm not going to go in super duper detail on that right here. Just won't have enough time, but I do have a full video explaining everything behind the logic behind order flow, as well as the indicator right here that I made that automatically does determine that for you. Mark that up for you, which saves a lot of time. But over here on the monthly, we are clearly in bearish order flow. All right, fair value gaps pointing lower. Most recent order flow leg swing high to swing low right there. Okay, great. We understand that right now dollar is looking bearish on a monthly basis. Now, candlestick logic wise, we have to take a look at some liquidity points, some individual candles right here. What are we doing? Right? Because if we're already in bearish order flow, great. But what do we see that's in the way of this monthly fair value gap here? Encourage price action. We're bearish. If we want to move lower from, where can we do that from? Well, we have this swing high right here. That's a premium array. That's a premium array we could potentially sweep, like we're doing so right here, to then continue pushing lower. Since overall we are bearish, we don't have to retrace into this level if we already have reason right now we're encountering to potentially push lower. So that is something to watch out for, something that I see right off the bat on dollar. If you want to move lower, this swing high right here on the monthly, this monthly swing high, this is a premium array. It could potentially be the catalyst to send price lower down towards new lows over here, new sell side, the sell side liquidity. Now, it's not that simple. We have to continue moving lower in time frames to really read the whole story here. Because once we go down a time frame, I'm just going to delete this line. I don't know what that line's for. Because once we go down a time frame, what we're going to notice is a weekly bullish fair value gap that we are in. So this right here is an area of resistance that's stopping price from moving lower. We can't be full bear yet. In fact, if we're going higher, it's going to happen off of this weekly fair value gap. So that's something that is still in the way. We don't have a full bearish bias just yet. We can still easily move higher off this weekly bullish fair value gap right there. Going down to the daily, let's see what's going on in the daily. If we go down to the daily, we will see that that monthly swing high sweep has been confirmed with this month, for this daily bearish order flow. So here's that monthly swing high that we swept. We actually had a impulse shift right here on the daily basis off of that sweep, creating daily fair value gaps right here, daily bearish fair value gaps right there. So we are in bearish daily order flow, but we are in weekly bullish order flow right here. So I still can't confidently say that I'm bearish and that I expect price is going to want to move lower off of this daily fair value gap right here to go lower. This wouldn't be high probability context because we're still in this weekly fair value gap. It's potentially still send us higher. So what I'm waiting for right here on dollar for real clarity is I want to see price disrespect this daily fair value gap to then seek higher prices, seek this previous day's high, seek this. We have a bunch of equal highs up here too. To seek these highs, eventually I believe we do have a daily fair value gap right here. We can also look at as a target, as a draw. Once we disrespect this daily fair value gap, all of these targets right here become the next draw on liquidity. We're going to be seeking the next premium array. Once we disrespect this premium array, we're going to seek the next premium array in line, which would be this daily fair value gap right here on this daily basis. So that is what I'm looking for the longs on dollar. For the long scenario, I'm just simply waiting for this daily fair value gap to get disrespected. I want to see fair value gaps displacing through that. I want to see price run this high. 4-hour fair value gap, something like this would be enough for me to start looking long towards these next premium arrays over there on the dollar. I think that looks clean. Now, if that doesn't happen and we respect this daily, we sweep this high, we create 4-hour fair value gaps lower, this would be looking like we want to go down towards these equal lows down here. Now, if we run these lows, let me get my thing right. If we run these lows, then I'm full on bearish down towards these next discount arrays right there. Because if we disrespect the discount array, we're going to start seeking the next discount arrays. So pretty much on dollar right now, it is a waiting game. Yes, this is going to be posted after Landon Smith Landau. Yes, sir. This will be posted later. But that is the idea on dollar. Honestly, I'm only going to be trading dollar if we do displace below this low. Essentially, we got two areas I'm interested in right here. This daily fair value gap, I want to either disrespect that to go higher. What the heck just happened? How did we just end up on NASDAQ right here? As I was saying, I either want to disrespect this daily fair value gap to go higher or run these lows to go lower. Right? We're setting boundaries to operate and enter into price once we have a clear idea. Okay, so right here, we don't want to operate inside of this boundary. We want to wait for these opposing ideas to just get removed so we have clarity, right? Remove the daily fair value gap, we have clarity up towards these equal highs. disrespect this weekly. Now we have clarity down to these lows. And that's all we're really doing. Just trying to find clarity and waiting for these areas, these dominoes to fall. These opposing ideas. So we have arguments fully supporting one direction. And that's where you'll find high probability price action. Right, so my next target, if we were to run these lows, it would be this swing low right here. And then we just keep on marking the next discount arrays, which would be this one. So that's the idea on dollar. I don't have a full-on strong, I'm full bearish going into next week. I am full bullish going into next week. I am waiting to see what we want to do in right here. Because again, this weekly fair value gap can still be the reason we push higher. It can still very easily push higher and work its way towards this monthly breakaway gap over here. Monthly fair value gap. So we'll see what the dollar does. Now, based on that idea, remember Euro and GBP, they move inverse. And Euro and GBP are doing something quite interesting right here. I think Euro and GBP look really clean for higher prices if the dollar decides to sell off. Let me remove this. This is annoying here. Oh, didn't want to delete it. Am I tripping? I'm deleting you. All right. If the dollar does want to move lower off of this idea that we had over here about the monthly swing high being swept, moving down lower, this weekly fair value gap failing, that daily order flow on the daily bearish order flow holding, that means Euro and GBP would be set to move higher. And what we have on Euro and GBP is we have some really, really nice SMT right here going on at these monthly swing lows. And SMT, in case you don't know what that is, it's just a divergence. It's when one asset, you see when assets can be correlated, right? And when one correlated asset takes a level that the other didn't, that's a divergence. So this is exactly what's happening on GU and EU, where GU took this swing low on a monthly basis over here, and since Euro is its correlated asset and didn't take that level, we now have a valid SMT right here at these levels. And Euro also did that into a monthly fair value gap, coming into a monthly fair value gap, which is a reason to potentially move higher. It would be IRO to Euro. A little LR. Low resistance liquidity run signature right there as well. No, that's not bad. Honestly, I would love if dollar sold off, because then this idea is really clear on EU and GU. I think that looks really nice for potential higher prices. Now, on a weekly basis, we don't have any weekly order flow, any weekly bullish order flow to work with. Not really much to deal with there. Let's go to the daily. On a daily basis, we do have this daily IRL right here, daily fair value gap created. That doesn't look bad. Again, the indicator will mark this once this next daily candle opens. So that should definitely be automated once that occurs. That doesn't look bad on Euro. I actually love that setup. Add that to the long watch if dollar does decide to dumpy. And again, we want to be trading the stronger asset, which would be EU, right? It's a stronger asset because it didn't have to go all the way down there. It wasn't that weak, right? GU was weak enough that it went below that relative low, whereas EU was strong enough that it held up. So we have a divergence there. And this shows clearly, I think personally, I think it's very easy to find relative strength. Like, you're literally just using an eye test too. EU has this expansion, very obvious to the naked eye, creating fair value gaps, which is how you identify expansions. Fair value gaps are identified through expansion, right? That's the literal definition. A fair value gap is this expansion, it's displacement. Whereas GU right here, you don't have that displacement. You don't have that daily fair value gap. So it's very clear that EU is stronger. All right. Just a very basic way of determining relative strength. That should be very simple. So yeah, there's GU, and I believe that is a weekly fair value gap we are also stuck within. So GU is in this trapped state right now too, where we have a monthly fair value gap that can push higher, but we have a weekly fair value gap that can push lower, meaning this is trapped order flow right there on GU. So you wouldn't want to look at that for any longs. That would not be interesting. If dollar does decide to sell off this week, I would only be focusing on euro longs, not GU longs. It's trapped right there. That is not nice. AUD USD. Now AUD USD, it looks pretty chopped right here. It doesn't look strong or weak. It just looks like it's consolidating. And this is because, well, this candle right here really messed everything up. We had this respect candle to this weekly fair value gap. This next candle expanded lower. Great. You would expect this next third candle to also expand lower, just based on candlestick logic. So the fact that that didn't happen and we just expanded higher again just shows a lot of opposing intention coming in, giving us more 50-50 conditions rather than 100% bearish conditions. So I'm really not interested in anything AUD USD right here going into next week. It just looks very chopped. NZD USD. Now this is quite interesting over here. This weekly fair value gap I'm seeing, it's very weak compared to AUD USD and all the other assets right here. So this gives us an idea for a very bullish dollar, because remember, these move inverse of each other. So if dollar decides to actually be bullish and move higher off of the idea that we had off of that weekly IRL pushing higher, well, now since dollar is bullish, we want to be trading the weakest asset of these four currencies right here, where USD is in the quote currency, which means the last listed currency of a forex pair, right? Euro would be the euro would be the base, and USD is the quote, because it's little forex 101 right there. Base quote, base quote, base quote, base quote. When US dollar is in the quote, it's going to move inverse of dollar. When USD dollar is the base currency, it's going to move in line with dollar. Inverse, in line. So that's why when I say dollar's bullish, I'm now looking for the weakest right here. If dollar does decide to push higher, NZD does look quite interesting, as it is the weakest asset right now we have on a monthly basis. We are just using this. Wait, what's going on over here? Where's my triangle or rectangle? On a monthly basis, we're just playing out monthly flip context. So we're failing to offer for value right here. We're likely seeking liquidity right now. On a weekly basis, we have weekly bearish for value gaps right there. I think this is super clean context. Like, it's ridiculously clean. Ridiculously clean. If dollar does want to push higher, this would make a lot of sense. And again, the indicator will mark that out once we get the next open of the next candle. It'll mark all these levels out for us. But that's not bad. In the event dollar is bullish, I will be watching this for shorts, because that weekly IRO to euro context to the downside, this is beautiful. I mean, we just came off a previous IRO to euro context right here, and this is actually that's a textbook 2 candle rejection here as well. So that's beautiful. Beautiful how this played out. Created a new fair value gap. Remember, fair value gaps that come off of previous fair value gaps are going to be your strongest fair value gap. So NZD USD chart alone, this looks really beautiful for lower prices. If dollar does want to be bullish, only in the event dollar is bullish. If dollar is also bearish, that is not going to aid in this. That would not be what you want to see. But we're ready for whatever happens on dollar, right? We don't marry a bias, which is nice here. Right, so we're prepared. If you do trade these majors, prepared for either one. Now these move in line with dollar. Remember, USD is the base now, and the foreign currency is the quote. It's second over here in the forex pair, the way it's listed. So these move in line. So if dollar's bullish, we want to find the strongest one. And if dollar's bearish, we want to find the weakest one. So if dollar ends up bullish, do we have a case for any of these being a attention grabber? If dollar's bullish, which is the most bullish right here? I would argue it is USD JPY. Currently disrespecting this monthly fair value gap right here. Failing to offer fair value. Likely going to seek liquidity. Compared to USD CAD, which is still in this monthly fair value gap. It's sweeping previous month's high, whereas USD JPY is very strong over that. So I think UJ would be more stronger than a UCAD over here. And again, in all honesty, I'm not interested in UCAD the way it's looking pretty uncertain based on where it is. Big displacement's higher, big displacement's lower inside that monthly fair value gap. Yeah, no, a lot of wicks everywhere. When you see a lot of wicks, that's a lot of uncertainty. But yeah, UCAD not very interesting for me this week. If dollar decides to move lower though, USD CHF is very weak compared to everything. So in the event dollar does move lower, USD CHF would be interesting because we are failing this weekly IRO to euro, failing to offer fair value, liking seeking liquidity down there. We have this daily fair value gap as well. But what I don't like about this is that this is actually a rejection gap. This is one of those rejection gaps that we went into one of those other in the last video that we posted last week. Third candle, big rejection, big opposing wick. This on a lower time frame is going to cause trapped order flow because remember, higher time frame wicks are lower time frame fair value gaps. And what do we see right here? We see a lower time frame 4-hour fair value gap right there. And what's also very suspicious about these fair value gaps right here is we got so close to the drawn liquidity and we decided to just have this big retracement back. It would have made most sense if we tagged it and then did that. But when you see this prior to the drawn liquidity getting hit, that is a red flag. It's quite suspicious. So this fair value gap, I would be quite cautious of that because again, if we do come into that, now we have a 4-hour fair value gap in the way. A lot of opposing intention. So if you do end up wanting to play shorts here, demand a little more extra confirmation off of this daily. Instead of maybe your standard 1 hour, look for a 4-hour fair value gap, now pointing lower again. That's what I would do. When in doubt, demand more. When in doubt, demand more. I think that's very important to note down. So that is the analysis on those majors. All right, let's move it along onto the next one. Let's take a look at oil. Oh, wait, no, I actually don't want to look at oil. As you can see, I don't like this price action. We've literally just moved sideways, so there's not much to analyze right here. All right, for value gaps in a consolidation, they don't work. Or they typically don't work. They're very low probability. And as you can see, we're in a consolidation. Where value gaps to neither side of the market are holding. Bullish for value gaps are failing, bearish for value gaps are failing, bullish for value gaps are failing. Right, this is the trust test. You want to look back and see if your value gaps have been holding. And if not, well, we're likely going to be in consolidation conditions like this. This for value gap isn't something I'm interested in. We're literally moving sideways. This is going to be a bunch of chop on the lower time frames, which it clearly is. It's nasty. I hope you can see why this is really nasty price action. So this is a skip. Again, I removed this from all of my trading watch lists. I don't know why I still have it here. It's going to take a long time to get clarity on this. Some nice movement. It's been like this for a couple years now. Anyways, I'm not going to speak on crude oil anymore. I would skip that. I would not look at that anytime soon. Now gold. Gold has been extremely bullish. I think we can all see that. We have a monthly fair value gap down below price, but do we want to retrace into there just yet? Just now, right now. Let's take a look first. We have to take a look at the lower time frames and truly understand the story that's being told down there first. So if there's a weekly fair value gap here, there's a daily, that may just already be enough reason based on how strong we are that we push higher. Now on a weekly basis, we had this weekly fair value gap. Well, we had this strong rejection we're seeing right there. Let's see what the daily's telling us. So now price is coming into this daily bag. Okay, it's coming in with a lot of opposing intention. You got to watch out here because what potentially could happen if we don't expand and negate this level is we get a daily bearish for value gap pointing lower right here, which that would not be great. That would not be a good case for gold longs. So this is what I am going to be looking at on gold. Because what we also have right here is a 4-hour bearish for value gap. And this line right here is that level of negation that I just marked out. Which means essentially that's the line that would negate any creation of a bearish for value gap. Which is conveniently the overlapping level of this 4-hour bearish for value gap. So pretty important level. What I'm going to be watching for on gold before I even consider any longs is I want to see this 4-hour for value gap get disrespected. Because what that will do is that all this area up here, once we disrespect that 4-hour for value gap, we pretty much have clear skies to reach this next high right here and complete that daily context. We would be removing the only area of resistance. And once we do that, we would have, again, a low resistance liquidity run up to these levels. And this is where you'll find that high probability price action up here. Once we remove this 4-hour for value gap, that line of resistance, right? So this domino will fall and pretty much all the other dominoes should fall in line and we go for this high. So I'll pretty much be watching out for that. This 4-hour for value gap to just disrespect. Get a candle body closure above that. Essentially inverse it, if you will. Or we form a high in there. We get a rejection high and we just run that high with a fair value gap. I would be looking for something like that as well. And that's the idea on gold. For shorts, there's two ideas. Remember, there's two ideas. For shorts though, if we decide to run this low right here, or for value gaps displacing through that, now this becomes our low resistance area. From here to here. And we can look at shorts down towards this previous week's low. But right here, it's no man's land, right? We want to demand a little extra confirmation. Will this 4-hour for value gap fail to then go higher? Or are we going to respect it, run this low, and then now we can look for shorts down towards these lows, these sell side targets. That is how we view that. So that is my outlook on gold right there. Now on silver, I think it's a very similar thing. On silver, we do have this monthly fair value gap that we have below price. We are currently, what this looks like, as we're sweeping previous month's high. We have a very sharp rejection. So this is that SMT as well. We have that bearish SMT with silver there, a divergence. And we have a very sharp rejection off of that. Again, potentially creating a monthly fair value gap or a daily bearish fair value gap to the downside right here. Right? If we don't hit this level right here, this negation level on Monday, we are going to have a daily bearish fair value gap. So that is something to watch out for. And again, this is pretty much the same exact idea, but gold is weaker. So if the shorts do end up playing out, gold would be focus area. The same exact idea on this though. If we do start disrespecting this 4-hour for value gap on silver, now I'm looking longs towards these highs right here, and that would be my my game plan on gold. Oh, sorry, on silver. Same exact idea. We want to get this resistance area removed, and then longs would be great. In fact, that's the ideal scenario right here. Just based on how bullish these metals have been, I would love to just continue pushing higher and look to trade the upside. I would prefer that. Between silver and gold, which one is the weak and which is strong? Well, clearly, based on this SMT divergence, it would be gold being the weaker one and gold being the stronger one right there. As for Bitcoin, I think the analysis here is pretty simple. We're in this monthly IRO to Euro, potentially monthly IRO to Euro playing out. We've just entered this monthly for Valley Gap. Currently quite weak. No reaction just yet. Again, there's still 14 days. This could very easily become a big rejection wick. But nothing confirmed just yet. We haven't had any daily impulse shift, daily bullish reactions out of that. No 4-hour for Valley Gaps out of that. We actually have created a daily bearish for Valley Gap right here through that. So I would want to see that disrespected first before I even think of longs right there. But that is Bitcoin, essentially, for longs awaiting the bullish reaction right here, because we are at a POI right now, so it would happen right here. Just patience. Just have some patience here and see if it does happen. I mean, if it never does happen, well, when we know our next draw on liquidity would be this swing low right there. And we can still potentially move higher off of that, which would be at 75K, 74K. Those would be some dip ads right there. We can actually get down there. That'd be really interesting. I have 0 Bitcoin, but low key I should get in some. I should get in some. Just in case it pops off to a milli. You never know. But yeah, react, don't predict type shit. That's right. That's right. Ethereum, pretty much the same story. Monthly IRO to Euro. Don't really have to get too deep into these. Let's take a look at indices real quick. All right, we've been at all-time highs over here, just trending at all-time highs, very simply put on the monthly basis. Let's go down to time frames, get a little more information as to, I mean, if we want to push higher, let's see where can we do that from. Let's see what the order flow is telling us on a weekly basis. And that is quite an indecisive candle right there. But we can still push higher. And we do have SMT on NASDAQ right here. Let me not forget that. All right. So we do have this weekly IRO to Euro that we had on indices that I was expecting higher prices from last week. Well, that's not really important right now, the overlapping level. But here's that SMT on the low. So on previous week's low, we have SMT with ES. This would be a potential 2-candle rejection on the NASDAQ, by the way. When that first candle fails to reject and expand higher, the second candle can always come, sweep that previous week's low, and then push higher off of that if we respect it, which we currently are respecting it. So this next candle, I would want to see this expand higher. It can do that. Weekly IRO to Euro, 2-candle rejection. And we have SMT at those lows as well. So that is something quite interesting. Let's take a look at the daily. So here's that SMT. Just marking it clear. Let's take off the indicator right here to clear things up. So the thing on ES right now is that we have this daily bearish rally gap in the way, which is the only thing that is stopping price from having clear skies up to new all-time highs. Same thing on NASDAQ. This daily bearish rally gap is the only thing right now that is stopping price from reaching new all-time highs. There's that S&T. Now we have this 4-hour bullish for Valley Gap, which is nice. And if we retrace into this first and somehow get an opportunity to look for longs from this 4-hour up to that daily going into tomorrow, that would be really nice. We do have the CASD here as well, this order block, We can already move higher off of that. We really don't have to retrace into that. This next candle can expand higher. If that's the case, I'm going to be patient inside of this daily for value gap, awaiting to see what price wants to do right here. Does it want to disrespect it, run through that, give us opportunities to look for longs up towards these equal highs and above? Or do we want to respect it and reject it and continue moving lower? That is what I will wait for. But if we do get the opportunity to long towards that daily gap and use this as a draw on liquidity, that is really nice. I would love that early on in the week if we can do something like that. Off of this idea would be great. Same exact thing on ES. So that's my early week idea. If we do get that. I mean, look at all these equal highs. Look at this perfect LR right there. That looks beautiful. We have everything. We have SMT on the lows as well. Oh my God, my internet went out for a second. Are we back? That was so weird. I think we're back though. My bad for the laggy. The laggy lag. Hate when that happens. All right. YM. I think I mentioned the other day, I don't like looking at YM super closely and factoring that in with my ES and NQ analysis. More times than not, it just throws me off because typically YM likes to do its own thing a lot of the times. So I sort of just treat it as the black sheep of the family. Don't take it too serious. Yeah, because now the YM has a daily bearish value gap over here. That is a major reaction off of that high. I mean, YM has the case to go lower here. Again, I don't like to factor in YM too deep. I think that's everything. I bought some stocks. I bought some stocks on the dip yesterday, not yesterday, on I think it was on Friday. Or like literally right at market open. I bought some hood. I bought some hood. Right here in this monthly IRO to Euro. Some Robinhood right there. I bought some Meta. I think Meta's a great company. And they're heavily invested in AI, and I think that is going to become a booming industry. And it's fucking Meta, and it's super weak right here, super sold off right here. So I bought some right here on Meta about around 600, about around 600. So that's that. What else I did? I bought some Tesla. I added onto Tesla at this monthly IRO to Euro. Again, a very easy stock method I've mentioned a bunch of times is looking at companies that you trust, you believe in, big companies, large cap stocks that are in monthly for value gaps, monthly IRO to Euro. And that's where I look to add dip adds. So this is where I bought. Initially, I bought down here, and I just added a little bit over here, buying that dip. What else did I get? This is a more speculative play, but I bought HIMS over here in this monthly IRO. I really like what HIMS is doing. I think they can be very interesting. And the chart itself looks quite nice too. So I bought some HIMS down here. And that would be like a near Where is it? Near 100% to all-time highs. So yeah, those are some things I bought the dip on. Anyways, let me take a look at chat real quick, and then we're gonna wrap it up. Hopefully that was insightful, guys. Do you offer mentorship? I don't have a mentorship live right now, but eventually, yes, that is in the plans. That is in the works. I've been speaking about it for a while, that it's gonna come out this year, but it most likely will not be coming out. I mean, I'll tell you right now, actually, it won't come out this year. It won't come out this year. The indicators we released took up a lot of time, and a lot of focus and energy was put on that. I have been traveling a lot lately as well, so I don't want to not be able to give you guys my full focus. I have some trips planned coming up in December and January. So again, I don't want to start a mentorship in the midst of all that traveling, because I won't be able to give you guys the best experience and all of myself to you guys. So yeah, it has been delayed for next year, when I can really give it my all, which I aim to do. Make it the best experience possible, and literally just make it crazy, make it insane. How do you decide to sell the stock? Well, these stocks that I've been buying is long term, so I'm talking like 10, 15 years, 20 years even. Like I'm holding, just letting them grow. I like the beat. Hell yeah. That's my go-to lo-fi music. But anyway, guys, appreciate y'all tuning in. That will wrap it up. How many of y'all in here, by the way, before y'all go, is it your first time? We've had a lot of new community members join in lately across the socials. So I'm just curious, how many of y'all here is your first time? Just like introduce yourself if you want. No pressure. Hello from Kenya. What's up? What's up, man? Check out Plug Power. Oh, I thought I saw that comment earlier, and you're like, plug my power. What are you talking about? Plug Power. Oh god. Yeah, we do have a monthly for Valley Gap, yes, but I don't know anything about Plug Power, and this is not enough. Like I need to see a bigger I need to see a bigger displacement. I need to see more from this. Wow. Okay, no, this looks like a penny stock, like a pump and dump. This looks very much like a pump and dump. First time. Well, what's up, Amelia? Appreciate you tuning in here for your first time. First time from Bangladesh. What's up, Nassim? Been here for a year, but 5th stream. Hell yeah, Meyer. Welcome back. From Canada. Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. From India. First time from UK. Okay, this is awesome. Appreciate y'all tuning in for your first time. Hope it was insightful. I try to be very clear, and I try to walk through things a little slower in this stream. So hopefully you understood most of what was going on. If it's your first time, I know it might be a little confusing, but if you want more clarity, again, all the concepts that I've broken down that I used on this forecast have been talked about in depth on various videos on this channel. So take a look at those. Feel free to take a look at those to get better understanding on your own pace. From Pakistan. Hell yeah. From Sweden, you are, Amelia. Hell yeah. Love that. But all right, guys, I'm gonna head out. Much love. I'm gonna get some dinner. Y'all take care. Peace out.